wireless home security cameras and doorbells seem to have exploded in the last few years, and there's all sorts of brands from all over the world, typically found on Amazon and the dedicated websites themselves. How do you know which is good and which is not? Well, that's why reviews like this are around. I currently have a full Eufy setup here at home, which are widely reviewed well and comparable to Ring, for example. Today I'm looking at, which I believe is pronounced aosu, aosu, and this is their 4K, as you can see it says on the side there, P1 Max solar security camera. So this is our solar panel array on the top. Here, the idea of this is, 2 or 3 hours sunlight a day will keep this device charged indefinitely, even throughout winter. Now, this of course does depend on the number of times it's triggered every day, because that directly relates to battery consumption. These basically sit in standby mode until they detect motion from the PIR, which is that sensor here. So they're not actively monitoring like the video frame for changes from frame to frame, because that would consume battery in no time. And there's no sort of 24/7 recording option, because again that would cane the battery. If it was a hardwired solution, that wouldn't be a problem. So what we got here, as I say, PIR on the left there, there's your 4K camera on the right. There's also a microphone slot, an LED indicator in the middle, an infrared array of LEDs at the front there, and actually a big LED light around the outside to light up for your full colour nighttime camera footage. There's nothing really on the back other than the mount itself, a few screw holes there, and this is secured to the camera simply by screwing it on like so. As far as angle adjustment goes, this can articulate every which way you want, and there is a cutout there to allow it to turn 90 degrees in that position only, hence the cutout for it. If you tried to do it around the other way, there's no cutout, it would stop at that angle. But it's there, so you can have it, mounted directly underneath something, you can have it mounted, on the side, or as I had it, kind of on the side and pointing down at a bit of an angle. So that works just fine. It comes with screws and rawl plugs to enable you to do that. It also comes with a USB-C charging cable, but no charger. And there's a little aosu 24/7 monitoring security sticker should you want to stick that somewhere on your property. And then finally, there is the quick start guide. This essentially just tells you what the things do physically on the camera, and then links you to the sort of app store to get the aosu app for your phone, whether it's iOS or Android. On the underneath of the device, we have our external speaker. We have a QR code that can be used to add this to the aosu app. I actually did it Bluetooth because that's how it prompts you to do it in the first place, and I'll show you that in a minute because it didn't go particularly well. There is then USB-C access here for just putting your USB-C charger in. There's not a lot of space either side. The first cable I tried, because I didn't use the one that came with it because I've got plenty of USB-C chargers kicking about. First one I tried didn't actually fit in the gap, but the one that comes with it does. But you can then pull this open further like that, and you gain access to your on and off button, a reset button, again the USB-C charger, and then a slot for a micro SD card. These are, of course, if you want them to be, offline local storage and subscription free. It doesn't come with a micro SD card, and I didn't actually realise that until I got partway through the installation process. Handily, I had a few kicking around, so it was no issue. I'll just show you what happens when you turn it on, because you get a little spoken voice.
Hello.
Hello. And then if we go to turn it off, I believe it says goodbye as well, so let's just try that.
Goodbye.
There we go. Now, other spoken audio that comes out of this, if you use some of the AI features to monitor your lawn or your vehicles or your perimeter fence, it will you can have it speak audible warnings if it sees these regions triggered. Now, we'll talk about how well that all works a bit later in the video, but that is your sort of physical walk around of the product itself. The build quality feels average to good. You know, nothing fantastic, but it doesn't feel super cheap. This probably feels the cheapest part of it, and you know that might worry you, as that's what secures it to the wall of your property. But you know, I can't say it's gonna. It feels, if I could liken it to something, it would be to the bayonet fitting for a light bulb overhead in your room, the part that secures your lamp shade to it, that you unscrew and then put your lampshade on and hold it awkwardly and then screw it back up. It feels that sort of quality. It's the closest I could liken it to. But yeah, it all seems okay for what it is. So the installation was really easy physically. I just screwed that to the wall and then screwed that back onto here at the angle I needed. And as you can see, that really can't be any easier. So no trouble doing that whatsoever. I'll show you now the screen capture of me actually installing it on my phone. Obviously, first of all, you need to create an account if you don't already have a aosu account. So that's what I did here. First and last name, your region, and then of course you need to create a password and re-enter that, and then your email address to go with it. It then sends you an email to confirm this email address. And this is where I ran into my first problem. It didn't initially work. I got the email straight away, no problem there. I clicked confirm and it said, great, all confirmed, you can now return to the app. When I returned to the app, it was still sat on that same screen with the countdown timer and saying you can resend the email if you need to. So I thought, oh, what's going on? So I went back into my email, clicked confirm again, and it said there's no need, you've already confirmed. So I went back to my phone, and I'm on Android. So your experience may vary from Android device to Android device. I have a Sony, you might be on Samsung, or you could be on iOS. Anyway, I came out of the app, the aosu app, went back in again, clicked login, put in my email and password, and it let me log in. So it did work, even though at the time when it was doing it live, the app was still sitting there waiting. So the next thing you do is obviously choose to add your camera. We'll go back to my screen capture, and it wants to do this by Bluetooth. So obviously I allowed the Bluetooth permissions. It tells me to turn Bluetooth on, which I'm pretty certain it already was. I don't really turn my Bluetooth off. Anyway, after a short while, you have to turn the camera on, obviously. It then shows up as whatever that is, GZ blah, 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 blah. You click pair, and this is where I then ran into my next problem. It just sat here saying pairing for ages until eventually it neither said paired nor pairing failed. It just stopped saying pairing. And I'm like, has it paired? Has it not? So I tried pairing again, same result. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, I come out of the Bluetooth, I go back to the aosu app, and you'll see here I'm back at the add devices screen. So I go through the process again, and this time it says scan the QR code, but then instantly it knows the SolarCam is there. So the Bluetooth did work, again a bit like the email confirmation. It just didn't confirm that it had actually worked. So then we obviously choose our Wi-Fi network that we want to put the P1 Max onto. It connects, and after it connects, which did without any issue, you give it a name. You can call it whatever you want. I just chose front door because that's where I was going to have it pointing for this testing. You could choose anything else. And then I believe the next thing it did was prompt me, the next thing is try and sell me some cloud storage, and take you through this, and there's another advert there, and take you through this kind of, it's almost like a tutorial. It just shows you what each of the buttons do on the main sort of home screen here with the aosu app. Then it tells me I need to do a firmware update, which of course I do. It said about 4 minutes, and it was about 4 minutes. And then finally, the camera is installed and up to date. And now I'm just going to take a quick look through the settings here so you guys can see what there is and what there isn't. There is a fair whack of sort of settings really, and this is the final installation. Oh yes, the recording mode. This is actually where I realised that I didn't have any storage on the device itself. My Eufy cameras, for example, have inbuilt storage. You don't have to add a micro SD card. So I'm going through this, going, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, and it's like insert the memory card. I'm looking in the box, I can't find a memory card anywhere. It says you can continue and install one later. So that's what I end up doing because I wanted to get the camera up and running. I was halfway through the installation process, so why not? I'm like, I'll go dig out an SD card in a minute. Mounting location, 2 to 3 meters above the ground. It's exactly what I did. And of course, it's solar powered, so you want it to be in an area that gets sunlight or you're not going to get a whole lot of charge out of it. All this is fairly straightforward, as you see. And then finally, you can confirm the angle of the camera. I was sat in my front room when I did this. So, and then last of all, of course, charge the camera 6 hours with a typical 2 amp USB charger. And that is the camera successfully added. So yeah, now we'll take a little look through the various options. The AI surveillance, human detection, intrusion, vehicle detection, parking guard, lawn surveillance, pet detection. Some of these are beta, some of these are not. But even the ones that are not don't work particularly well. And I'll show you examples of this a bit later. You can set a schedule at the bottom there as well. It's just default is all day. But you can choose whatever hours you want, and you can add as many sets of hours as you please to each of the modes, so they're individually configurable. Yeah, what I concluded after testing all of these things, and again I'll show you that, the climbing over the fence one's particularly interesting, is that using the AI functionality is basically just a waste of time because it's far too unreliable. And this isn't just aosu cameras. My Eufy ones are equally useless when it comes to the AI features. Detecting faces, recognition, just half the time my Eufy ones say everyone is exactly the same person, even though I've submitted their faces many times. The difference between animals and people, it just doesn't get right either. And these aosu cameras are no different. It trying to automatically detect my fence or my car or even movement at night time, it's just, you're better off just setting I'm letting the screen capture just roll here so you can see the various menus and options available. Yeah, you're better off if you want to have specific areas covered and exclude other areas, you are better off manually setting those zones and saying trigger if it goes past, if someone enters this region. The AI features just really don't work. And again, look, cloud storage, it's here. There's all sorts of options as far as cloud storage goes. And I think by not including an SD card, they're probably hoping that more people will go, oh, actually, sod it, we'll just go for the $3.99 package or whatever. And as you can see there, they really do present it looking quite nice to try and sell it to you. Video audio modes, this is for the streaming. If you've got a good network signal, which you should have if you're at home on your Wi-Fi, obviously you'd use 4K. If you were out of home and your phone signal was low, it actually automatically switches to a lower bit rate for that anyway. Battery modes, again, like you've seen the options as we go through here. There's so much to choose from, perhaps more than you need really, especially AI features as they don't often work mostly. Oh yeah, and smart access, Amazon Alexa and Google Home. And that is basically everything as far as the app goes from a menu point of view. You can play with that to your heart's content. So, we'll get to the footage in a moment. The video quality, they are 4K cameras, that's the resolution that the video footage shows up in. And the video quality in daylight is good. Let me show you a clip of me in daylight, and also you'll hear the audio as well. Sound check for the audio quality, I'm about 3 meters away, talking directly at the microphone at a normal volume. So you can see how sensitive the microphone is and exactly what it sounds like. So daytime footage looks pretty decent. Now if you're looking at this video right now on a phone, or you're watching camera footage on your phone, it looks particularly good. That is not representative of how good this footage actually is. If you look at it then on a monitor or on a larger display, 55 inch or 65 or 85, whatever, you'll see the compression. And this is the issue I've discovered with all wireless CCTV that I've tested so far and seen of other people's, is that they compress the file sizes down so much, the audio and the video loses huge amounts of quality. Now, 30-second clip on here in daylight, about 9 megabytes of 4K footage. It's phenomenally tiny. It's about half the size of a good quality MP3 that's maybe 4 or 5 minutes long. It's terribly small. For comparison, Eufy 30-second clip daylight, 5 meg. So it's less compressed than my 4K Eufy camera, but it's still massively compressed. And there's no reason for that. I put in this a 64 gig micro SD card. Why do you need to have 9 meg file sizes? There's no reason for it at all, unless maybe they're focusing on, upload bandwidth and keeping that to a minimum for people that use cloud storage. But we've all got pretty good internet connections these days. There's no need for the file size to be so compressed and for everything to look as bad as it does, blocky and with detail missing. Like, if you don't understand compression, if you were looking at a still image, if I stood still in the footage, I'd look great. Loads of detail, fine. But as soon as you move, the detail is lost and it gets messy and blocky and pixelated. Hopefully, if you're watching this on a bigger screen, you'll see what I mean. Let's move on to some black and white night vision now, because there is full colour option. Now, interestingly, this actually triggered from quite a way down my driveway, as you see, when the clip started. I would say this night vision is on par again with other wireless CCTV that I've tested. So perfectly acceptable for what's out there at this price point. Oh, and speaking of price point, this camera is $149 on Amazon right now. There will be almost dropped it. There will be a link in the description. And that price compares almost identically to like the Eufy equivalent 4K camera. So it's priced as they all are. So that's the black and white night vision. Let's now have a look at the colour night vision. And this is where things really take a turn for the worst. This is awful. I've never seen colour nighttime footage this bad in like recent history. Is it usable? Yes, you can see there's someone there, and anything that's, there's nothing really moving there, and it was still all pixelated. So that's not good at all. You're better off just using the black and white, night vision option. So that was a bit disappointing. Now, part of the features of this camera, not only, so that was using that huge LED ring light that's around the outside edge. You can have this sound an alarm between certain hours if you want to. So, for example, the idea of a lot of the AI features are, you've got a camera and it's pointing down your driveway and it's looking at a car. So let's just have a look here. Look, I've got a car parked literally right by the gate there. I kind of ignored my van to the right and the other car. I thought they're probably a little bit far down the drive and the van's half covered by a fence. But this is about as good as this white Audi A1 is about as good as I could get from having a car in full view kind of thing. So the idea is the AI recognises that is a car, and you can just tick the box in the options that you saw earlier to have vehicle security on. And then you can tell it to sound an alarm or even speak warning potential thieves to walk away from the car because it is being monitored. Smart parking surveillance is what it's called. But the problem is the AI doesn't detect the car. In that clip there, even in daylight, it didn't pick up the fact that there was a car sat there. And then, like the opposite of that, at night time, I'm going to put a screenshot up now, I got 2 smart parking surveillance triggers 1 minute after the other, where I was at, if I zoom in enough here, you'll see that on the thumbnails that I'm just stood there just off my front doorstep and then on the front doorstep opening the door, and it decided that I was stood by a car on my driveway and potentially it should alert me that someone stood by a car on my driveway. And this is why I said earlier, If you want to set specific zones to trigger alarms or notifications, do it manually. Don't let the AI do it, because I guess unless you're in very specific and exacting conditions, with the camera exactly the right angle and the car park's in exactly the right place and the lighting exactly right, it just doesn't work. It does actually say in the app, under the AI feature, right at the bottom, it says low lighting and other things will degrade the performance of these AI features. It's like, it don't even work well in daytime. And another example of it not working well in daytime is this. I closed my gate, so there was a nice fence there, and I put a ladder or set of steps, as you'll see here, on the other side of the fence, right? And then I pretend to climb up as if I'm going to climb over this fence to come and break into the property. And my phone was in my hand, and I was waiting for it to trigger and say someone's climbing over the fence, right? It identified part of my fence as a fence, but not all of it, using the AI feature. So then I set it manually to try and do this. So this is just another example here of the daytime footage as well. So what actually happened was, I climbed up on my ladder and it didn't trigger at all. It didn't even notice I was there. I was waving my arms around. Obviously there's no footage of this because it didn't trigger. It finally triggered as I was about to get down. You see, I'm holding my phone in my hand and nothing's happening. Right, let's get down. I take a step down and all of a sudden I notice it's triggered. And it's started recording, obviously, from whatever, a couple of seconds ago. And I'm like, well, now I've got a notification, and it's just got me. So the whole time I was there waving my arms around, I even put my leg up on the top of the post as if I'm going to climb over. It did absolutely nothing. And then the moment I go to climb back down, it decides to trigger. Because, yeah, it looks like I'm stationary here. I'm not. I'm just messing about with the phone. I'm looking at the recordings to see if I just missed the trigger, or, you know, the notification. Has it actually recorded me waving my arms around? And the answer was no. So I gave up and obviously went back down. But yeah, AI stuff just does not seem to work. If I'd set that as a manual zone and to manually just trigger for any movement in the zone, then it would have worked within the limitations of the PIR, because the way these work, these battery operated security cameras, is, as I mentioned earlier, the PIR is on all the time, nothing else is on. So the PIR detects motion, it wakes up the rest of the camera. There's a reasonable delay actually on this camera when that happens, and I think I've got some footage of that, because what happens is it starts recording in black and white first, until it then determines that yes, there is somebody there, and then it will turn the light on like it has done there. There's a few seconds of delay, but again, you don't want to use the colour because it looks absolutely terrible. So yeah, daytime video quality comparable to other wireless CCTV. Same for the audio, all unnecessarily compressed. Nighttime full colour, pretty much useless. And the AI features also pretty much useless. So let's have a look. Let me give you a demo of the speaker inside that. You heard it speak itself on and off a little while ago, but I've got some footage here of me. I basically go live, and this is sat here on the desk with this microphone about this sort of distance away, and I go downstairs and speak through this as if I was talking to a delivery guy wanting to leave a package, or warning a thief to go away, or something along those lines. So have a listen to this.
Speaker sound test of the aosu P1 Max. Speaker sound test of the aosu P1 Max. What do I sound like coming out? The little inbuilt speaker. Here we go.
So we're talking sort of like laptop quality speaker, perhaps, but it's quite scratchy, and I guess because of the compression, you know, over the stream, it doesn't sound the best. And just to point out, the router that this is connected to is about 5 meters that way, and both on the same network. So like, there's no issues with signal strength for that particular audio clip. It hasn't automatically reduced the bit rate because the signal strength is low. The signal strength is about as good as it could possibly get, being in the same property on the same floor. So yeah, it's average. Now, as far as slow triggering goes, I've got a couple of examples of that here. The first one we've got, in fact, let me show you. Yeah, let me show you this one first. This clip here, it looks like it's triggered kind of, and I'm already there. It's a clip I showed you a minute ago when it goes into colour. I'd actually walked all the way down the driveway, and it only triggered when I got parallel with my front doorstep. As you see, if I go back to the beginning of the clip, I'm stood there. I'm kind of meandering about, going, is it going to happen? Like, is it going to catch me? And then all of a sudden, it catches me and it turns the colour on. So that's an example of a late trigger, but that's at night time. So all right, yeah. We'll give it a little bit. Let me give you an example of a daytime late trigger, and this is a genuine situation, not something that I've done for testing. I was sat in my front room, and I heard a knock at the door, and what had happened was a delivery driver had turned up, and again he's already there. Look, the camera starts recording at my doorstep, and he put the package down. So what you see now, him walking away, the camera had all this time, and the guy's wearing a bright yellow high-vis. To pick up that trigger, you see me just poke my head out there. And what's also interesting is I hadn't yet had a notification on my phone. The first I heard was him knock at the door. Now, again, with my Eufy stuff, I would have known the moment he came around that corner. So that's another example there of it triggering quite, well, very late. The guy was at my door and he put the package down on the doorstep before the aosu camera came on. And then I picked the package up like you see there. I walked in, I sat down on my sofa, and then I got a notification saying there'd been motion at the front door. So that was probably, how long does it take me to walk from the front room to the front door, pick it up and walk back? Maybe a minute. That's quite late. And I've noticed throughout my testing, the speed of notifications vary, and again, this is sat at home, so good Wi-Fi connection, both devices. I'm not out and about on 3G somewhere remotely. The speed of notifications does vary massively. It's never super quick, but it's not always that slow. You know, about a minute, the guy had delivered something, knocked and buggered off, and I went back in, sat down, and then got the notification. So that's it's a bit on the slow side. So I think, to be honest, wrapping things up, as this video has probably gone on for almost half an hour, yes, wrapping things up, the video quality daytime is good and comparable to other available manufacturers. The solar panel option is, of course, excellent. I haven't been able to test that. It's winter time here. It's been cloudy and just not enough sunlight. Well, it's been cloudy, so I haven't been able to test it, but we'll presume it works. You know, the speaker quality in this is loud, but not the best quality because everything's compressed again. Nighttime full color footage, just not really usable. Black and white nighttime footage, comparable to other manufacturers. So again, what you'd expect. Not coming with SD cards for storage, a little bit annoying, especially as other manufacturers do include storage with their cameras, but not the end of the world because they're not expensive to sort out. So that's pretty much everything, I think. I don't know whether I've yet showed you video footage of what the alarm actually looks like from like me looking up at its point of view. Oh no, I don't think I have. I'm going to put that up now for you because again, it triggered late. So yeah, so this is what the alarm going off looks like from the camera. It triggers in black and white, then it goes to colour, and the siren is kicking off. And if you didn't know any different, you'd be like, okay, that triggered fairly quickly. Let me show you now the same footage, but from, you saw I was holding my phone in that video. That blue dot is the status LED of the camera. So my phone is now pointing at it, and I'm walking about at the front of my house. And I'm still waiting, and we're still waiting, and you know I couldn't be much closer really. I'm only a couple of meters away. I'm still waiting. It hasn't triggered. There we go. Finally, it's triggered, and it knows that I'm there. So yeah, I almost forgot to include that. clips. That's just another example of the late triggering. And as I say, other manufacturers trigger much, much faster and more reliably. So I don't think I'd recommend this over some of the other manufacturers. Feel free to check out my reviews of the Eufy ones. If this is all that's available in your area for whatever reason, you now know how it functions, the limitations, the pros and the cons. So if you need one, there will be an Amazon link in the description. And if you don't, you don't. As always, thank you very much for watching and take it easy.